I would just like to welcome everyone here this morning. Thank you for attending our Chamber of Commerce Business Essentials. And I'm Cheryl Angeles, the President and CEO. And we're very pleased to bring you these webinars during our COVID lockdown. So I am very pleased to have one of our board members, Silas Green, is going to speak to us today. And Pauline will make the introduction, and then she will monitor the questions at the end of the program. So take it away, Silas.
All right. So,
would you like your intro, Silas?
please.
Okay, so I'm Pauline Chung with the Chamber. I'm your Director of Communications and Marketing. And today we have with us Silas Green III. He's a CPA, and he has well over 12 years of experience in accounting, auditing, tax, and financial analysis. In addition, Silas is co-founder of Sunshine Pro Accounting and Tax. Since founding the company in December of 2012, he has developed a high level of competence to help business owners identify and manage elements to increase efficacy. So I'm going to turn it over to Silas.
All right. Well, thank you. And my screen should be shared, and I want to make sure everyone sees it. Thumbs up. All right. Thank you. Well, thank you all for taking some time to share with me today. Today, I wanted to kind of share some key concepts and ideas that we need to have in all our businesses as we go through these challenging times. More so than any other time in our recent history, consumers and customers are looking for value and trust with the businesses and clients they're working with and they're patroning with. So as we go through these times, we're going to jump on these ways, and some of this is relatively straightforward. But we're going to dive into each of these elements of ways to increase your business's value, and also the value you get to your customers as we go through this presentation. So let's dive into the first one. We want to increase the number of customers we work with. When we think about that, the customer acquisition phase is the first element of this process. When we think about customer acquisition, the first impression is what we want to make. There's a lot of uncertainty in the current market, so having an opportunity to present with empathy and give the consumers confidence in these first impressions is going to be really key. There's 5 major strategies that we're going to dive into. The first is, the UCDs. When we think about the UCD, there can be different ways that customers perceive your business, and we want to make sure we are managing that. There's actual UCDs, there's perceived, and also created. And a good example of this is when I think about like the iPhone. Apple makes you think that if you have an iPhone at your, special events, your birthday parties, on vacations, that iPhone is going to give you, a higher perceived value in life. And that's a perceived UCD. When we think about the fact that they say, okay, well, you have your Apple iPhone, you have your, Apple laptop, your tablet, TV, and maybe even Apple Watch. Now this connected all these consumer products together in one, which is a created differentiator. So the question is, what are those unique items about your business, your services that you can do? What are those things that are unique to your business? Either it's actual, you are the only provider that does it, or it's something that is perceived or created by the way you're interacting. We all are pivoting in different ways with our businesses to navigate these, turbulent times. But we want to make sure that as we do pivot, we're creating value as we interact with our customers. Then we're going to jump into connecting with individuals. When we think about the way we communicate with all our customers, for our services or for products, a lot of times we're just hopping on the phone, sending a text message or email, but the power of a phone call cannot be missed out on. The one thing is, it's not simply just the concept of picking up the phone and calling people. The concept that we want to think about is, what is the messaging that being presented during the touch points of your business and the relationships you have with your customers and consumers? So are you, one, practicing and understanding what that messaging is, doing different types of ways to train to help make sure that the different individuals you have with your business, either your staff, team members, and whatnot, are having consistent messaging and they're confident in expressing the values of your business. I like to think about it when you go to a Four Seasons, and you see the valet, you go to the bellman, and you get to the front desk. Each and every one of them will be, saying, "Hey, thank you for coming to the Four Seasons. We're looking to provide you, comfort and excellent services," and that is going to be expressed throughout each level of your stay at the Four Seasons, no matter who you're speaking with. You want to make sure that you're doing the same thing with your business and make sure that you're expressing that through communication, training of your staff, and also making sure that you're, very, very confident in what that messaging should be. Now, systems are very important as well. You got to think about this as a problem. So there's no one person going through these unprecedented times right now. We are all going through these unprecedented times. So there's a problem. How can we solve it? What are the missing elements in my business, in my practice, and how I'm serving that can relate or help me connect or build more trust in the communities and the environments I'm doing business in? That's one thing that we have to think about. People buy with business they trust, and also creating a consistent way of selling allows for, one, your team to consistently provide sales. You can delegate certain aspects of this, and two, it helps for your clients and consumers to refer your product. They know what you're selling. They understand the dynamic of it. It's consistent with how you've done it in the past. So when they refer your services or products to others, they know what they're getting. And one of the biggest things is having a plan for it. I don't want any of us to simply say to discount my services. And that's something that we may have to do in certain elements as we navigate these seas, but not simply discounting. Have a plan for how the tactics with you provide your services and promotions will promote and increase the actual value throughout the year. It gives you a plan for how much cost you will have over a period of time. And as things change, seasons change, and the environment change, you can then change how you utilize different types of promotions to support giving the appropriate level of value to your customers. Now we want to talk about how to increase the number of times customers, return. You've already provided excellent services. You already executed on working with these customers. Now the next step is, how do you get them to return? And some of the strategies are relatively straightforward. You just say, "Hey, come back." All right. There's nothing wrong with showing appreciation and asking customers what are they experiencing with you, and how can you get them to come back. In living right now, as all of us are going through some different form of challenge or some different form of pivot, a lot of people think they're doing it on their own, they're doing it on their own. Now, as we're navigating through this, connecting with customers and telling them that you appreciate the fact that you've worked with them and they work with you, or that they've purchased your product, if they've purchased, use your service, is key to, one, being empathetic and ensuring that they return to you. 68% of customers don't leave for a competitor because of anything other than being in a position where they have a perceived indifference. That means that they just don't think you care, or they don't think that your business or their business with you really matters. So connecting with customers and telling them, either through social media and through other dynamics, that you appreciate having them is very, very important. Providing awesome service is a must, but there are some things that get in the way at times. One of the things that get in the way is you're doing too much. What are the things that you're expert as? In those expert areas of either how you manufacture your products or how do you provide your services, or they're a key element of the consulting or the dynamic of the project that you can work on, you want to focus on that. delegate the other adjacent aspects to other experts. So then your customers and consumers are always being in the position of the highest level of service. You're doing what you're best at and giving great value, and you delegated the other elements to other experts and giving them great value. And one thing that you want to be clear with is you're answering the asked question. Define the customer expectations. Because if you're in a situation where you don't answer their asked question and provide the service that they actually need, then you are never going to be in a position of giving value, no matter how well you execute. A thing that I like to think about is, if you, for your bestest best friend, you make them the greatest, most expensive Wagyu steak beef to the perfect medium rare temperature, beautiful, lobster dish with drizzled oil, maybe some sauteed bacon and shrimp on the side, but they're vegan. Your efforts will go unmissed. So on value, because you just missed the boat. It's not something that they can receive. So understanding customers' expectations is one of the key points in this slide, but being sure you also communicate with your team, having consistent messaging and training all levels of your team's processes to make sure that you're conveying, not just doing, conveying what those key service points are that you're executing on. And nurturing your customers is so important right now. Customers want to feel as though that you're there. Having a plan to do it is really, really important, because it's not always easy. If you allow it to be something that you just go fly by, and say, hey, I'll just reach out when something comes up, you will miss the boat. Having a CRM system will always ensure that you have processes where you're documenting what needs to be communicated, have a timely process in communicating and using different elements for as a loyalty program and follow-up calls to ensure satisfaction. The one thing we want to do today is maintain the customers that we have and increase the level of value that we can give them. Having follow-up calls allow for you to get in front of defectors, like, oh, hey, I'm sorry that we didn't do this right. How can we do it? I'm sorry that the product or the service that I provide didn't quite reach that goal. Let's see if there's something that we can do. What this does gives you a few key things. One, allows you to ensure that you're providing the highest value service. And two, and make sure you understand what those services are actually, how they're being perceived. It's one thing to say, hey, my goal is to do X, but if your consumers are perceiving Y, you need to kind of match it up to ensure that you're always providing that intended great service. And, just piggybacking on that thought is, the consumers are the one your customers are the one who are using your products or services. Their position and experience with it is not the only thing that matters, but it matters a lot. So having periodic phone calls, satisfaction surveys, and using other types of ways to communicate with your customers to get an idea of what their experience is very important. One of the things that we want to make sure is we're doing is that we are asking these questions and asking how, as we navigate these uncertain times, that we're understanding what their experiences are. Because as we go through this together, understanding what things makes them more comfortable, makes them less likely to work or in or with your services, will help you navigate it in a way where you are always doing what's best at that time. Information is key here, and being able to share it and receive it, especially through these metrics, will be important for the success of our businesses and ensure that we continue to thrive and strive. Now, we want to kind of focus on that keyword in this statement here: increase the average sales value. The keyword is value, because it's not just simply, when you think about increasing the average sales value, how much your selling price is. That's just simply what it's saying. The value is the most important aspect. When we think about cross-selling, we just not want to say, hey, I want to just give you another product. We want to make sure that as we pivot in the current environment, that we're sometimes using a virtual platform or other dynamic ways to deliver our services and also to interact with our clients. This is an opportunity for us to think about different ways that we can present different aspects of our services. The goal is to be in the highest level of services and provide value. The more you can cross sell, the more value you can get. Cross-selling and upselling can be universally thought of. It's not just simply saying, give me more just because I want more. It's give me more because there's more value in a higher level of service. If you think about having a lower level, mid-level, and high level service, most people come at the mid-level, but they don't know your business and the value you can provide as well as you do. A good example was I was in Napa a couple of years ago, and I was wine tasting. Some of you guys who know me know I enjoy my wine, and I'm having red wine, and the sommelier he came to me and say, "Hey, would you like to add some chocolate to that?" And my initial thought was, "Yeah, I'm just getting upselled," but the chocolate actually added to the experience. The value of the experience was even more. Now there's not a day that I go by when I have wine and not want a piece of chocolate. So what is that added chocolate that you can give to the normal service that people come in? People typically come in to an insurance company and say, hey, just give me the basics. But if you're able to explain what are those key elements to help provide more value to your customers, will be very, very important to make sure that we understand. Don't just allow your customers to come in and get the bottom shelf, margarita. That margarita with a Don Julio on the top shelf, I promise you, will be something that they will come back for again and again. And bundling the services allow for you to give more value, because at the end of the day, the assumption is that you are already a great service provider. You're good at what you do. You have excellent packages and services and products that you can give. The more you can give, the greater satisfaction the customer can have, and the greater value you can give, the more impact you give to your communities. So don't be afraid to give more to your customers and ask for more, because the value position is already there. When we talk about smart merchandising, there's so many opportunities for you as an owner to give messaging to your clients. So when you think about the products you sell, the services you sell, there's always a touch point, a key deliverable. I like to call them jewels. Those jewels are opportunities for you to give a communication. A lot in today's market, people want to know that things are safe, that they can trust you, they can trust your products, that the interacting with your business doesn't hinder them from being safe and healthy, as well as it's just an unnecessary expense. So using your touch points, your jewels, to deliver communications, to even to upsell and also cross-sell products is important. Example, if you are delivering a consultation report, you provide the report and also express a key messaging about what other dynamic that you can support in or other services you can add to the dynamic of your consultation process. Or for an example, you are providing or a product that you mail, and you have packaging. That packaging is an opportunity for you to utilize communication and messaging about your business, your values, et cetera, et cetera. And don't forget about social media. Continue to utilize social media to express what's going on. One thing that is strong is that if you work in an industry that has touch points that are physical, where your customers and clients have to physically interact with your business, then you want to share, like, what are the protocols and dynamics associated with your business that ensure safety. It will get people to come in. It will get people to feel more confident and secure about moving forward. And understanding margins is one of the key elements here. You have to define what those margins are. And getting in the price wars can be a very dangerous process for your business, because when we think about value, value is always a two-way street. And if you simply reduce prices without having a key insight to what the margin and also value of the process is, you will end up being in a much more detrimental position than you think. For an example, if you were using a basis of 35% present margin, if you reduce your sales price by 10%, it takes an increase of 40% of actually volume, 40% more customers coming into your door for you to get back to a profit margin that you had beforehand. But if you increase your price by 10%, your sales can actually reduce by 22%, which is highly unlikely. Um, but it can reduce by up to 22% and you still have the same profit. So you're making more but doing less. Now, most people do not buy just based on price. They actually buy based on value. So looking at those concepts we shared earlier, thinking about cross-selling, bundling, increasing the actual value of the services you provide, which will also entail increases the actual service price, will also give you a position where you can be more effective in the services and in your overall business margins. So how do we do all this? What is the things that we need in place to kind of streamline these types of processes? We need strategies. We need to understand what our missions are and understand what are the things that are in place with our businesses that, and also our competitive environments that hinder us from being exactly where we want to be, and make sure we have the resources to do it. So what is the purpose of your business? Why? What is that key why? Why are you in business and why people want to buy stuff from you or use your services? Define that and understand what that plan is for you. There's a lot of times that we like to just do, sell, but getting back to the core concepts allows for you to, one, focus your activities and focus your mind and focus your services and your team on those core concepts. And then it allows for you to express those through providing excellent services and high value products. There's a lot of things that going on through these turbulent and challenging times that we need to sit back and say, okay, where and what makes us strong in these moments? Where have we been? Where has there been strengths and weaknesses? And what are the opportunities and threats? Some of those things are clear, but we need to define those things so that we can understand how to navigate the industry that we're in. Our competitors are doing things as well. And competition is a big thing. So the question is, how do you want to compete? You want to compete based on value. Can you provide the value associated with your service at a level that is greater than your competitors and also is consistent with navigating the industry that you're in? And also you want to have ability to measure your performance. All the things we talked about today, increasing the number of customers, increasing the average sales price, having a more effective strategy in executing sales communications, and also, working through these unprecedented times. Having a you have to have a baseline. You have to have an understanding of what your business is and where it is, and then as we go through these times, you will continue to, one, maintain and even thrive, and then as we transition into a position where we're moving through, you will be well positioned to shoot for the stars. you know you want to be understanding what are those processes within your business that must be systemized. Having a systematic way to do this gives you a basis of analysis. If you're always doing the process differently from one time to the next, or your manufacturing is different from one time to the next, or your communication from your team to your customers is always different, there's no way for you to have a basis on understanding exactly how you can improve, what are those elements that can be improved, and how effective your position is as a business owner and a product and service provider. So the value position in creating systems is immense, and you want to do that so you can always make sure that you're touching on and doing all those things that are great in developing, nurturing, and increasing those customers. And this is going to be aided by having a great team. One, a team builds a positive work environment, and the team is not just those who work with you and for you. Those business partners are working for you and on your business versus working always in the business. By having a good team allows for you to, one, delegate and utilize the specific and significant resources needed for you to be in the best position possible. All the things that we're talking about are things that you can definitely do on your own, but also having someone who can look outside looking in, high level, and use industry and specific business analysis to understand where and what and how your business can improve is also value. So when we thinking about these things, you definitely want to kind of consider, okay, well, what are those touch points? What are those key things that my business can be doing today to continue to support thriving and thriving through, as well as maintaining and nurturing the clients that you do have and ensuring that you can get more. So at this point, I'll definitely open up for questions. And if there's ever a situation where you feel like you have more questions or want to have a consultation to understand how my team can support your business in developing or understanding strategies we discussed today, feel free to take my contact information. And I want to thank you all for joining.
Silas, thank you so much. Participants, feel free to unmute and ask Silas your questions. We're having fun in the chat about food. I think you made everybody hungry,
Oh,
Silas.
yeah, I have, dishes too. Maybe next week I can talk about some of my favorite dishes I cook.
So, Silas,
Yes.
what would you recommend with a porterhouse steak?
That's a good question. Porterhouse is one of my favorite places. So when I think with Porterhouse steak, what I would recommend is the truffle mac and cheese.
Mm.
It's one of my favorite, and the roasted vegetables and have extra carrots. I love the extra carrots with the roasted vegetable dish they have.
Yeah, I said steak salad. That's my favorite there too.
Oh yes, I love the steak salad. I actually had it last night.
Oh
Hey,
gosh.
hey, Silas, this is Amar Diocampo. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to comment and tell you how I appreciate the examples that you provided during this presentation, like when you went wine tasting and the offer for chocolate was provided, and how that was a great example of the winery showing value, extra value. And
Hmm.
and then the example of the cooking, your wagyu beef for a group that were vegetarians, falls short of meeting that value. So great use of storytelling. I appreciate it, Silas.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I definitely appreciate that comment. I really do. And the goal is to kind of say, hey, these are things that we all can do in different ways with our businesses, because we work with people who need something. We want to know what that need is, and also that um, by asking for more is never a bad thing, because the whole goal is to be in valued service. So giving more will always be a better proposition than just doing the same old thing.
Silas, I have a question. Hi. I
Yeah, go
wanted
ahead.
to ask you about the cross-selling and what
Mhm.
else can you offer? Does it have to be a service that you already provide, or are you talking more about also being able to offer a service that someone else provides that you're in cohorts with? So say
Mhm.
just another business that maybe we can trade ideas and support each other. So we're almost doubling or tripling our customer base.
That's a really good question, and then thank you for bringing it up. So when you think about cross-selling, ideally speaking, the most profitable aspect of it if you have multiple adjacent services within your business that you can sell.
Mm-hmm.
But the concept of cross-selling also goes into one thing I noted earlier as well is where are you an expert at? What are adjacent services that you're not expert at, and having partners that can do that. So for an example, if you are in cohorts with someone who has an adjacent service they are an expert, and now you say, hey, customer A, I want you to work with this person to get this service. Now you are in a situation where that individual client is able to get the highest level of value working with you and your business partner to ensure that they are taken care of is completely. An interesting example, like for myself, is I provide business advisory service and tax consultation services that always lends into other elements. So I'm really good at advising taxes, accounting, uh, but I can't have the highest level of value in providing specific financial analysis, like what the stocks are doing. So if I say, hey, I can do it, but I know my business partner who's a financial analyst can do it much better. So there's no value in me doing it half as good as the financial advisor, but there's so much value in me doing what I do best and let the financial advisor do what he or she does best. And then now that individual customer is at the highest level.